By the way, do you know what we're doing on this show?
I just pulled up the show sheet.
Oh, I was hoping you hadn't seen the show sheet yet and thought that I had no clue.
That was the first thing I did because I didn't see a text. I forgot my phone at home, so I got home at like 7:55. I'm like, oh fuck! I saw no text from you. I'm like, oh shit! I wonder if he forgot to.
Nope. Welcome to Beerfield, where we didn't forget the show script, but we only made it 20 minutes before the show. I am Beerfield Hop with Beerfield Theory. Beer Fuel, Beerfield. I'm Beerfield, he's Beer Fuel.
Boom.
Boom. I actually spent the majority of my time after I got off work making an eye appointment because I snapped my glasses right down the middle. So this is actually an old script. That's like a 9-year-old script, so my eyes hurt a little bit today.
That sucks.
Yeah, a little bit. But, you know, it doesn't suck, the fact that we got a show for you today. You know what also doesn't suck? The Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. So, a lot of good names going to be at that one. I think if you're plugged into the fantasy world at all, there's going to be somebody there that you want to see. So, it could be us. I don't know why, but it could be us. It could be Matt Hicks. It could be the headliners. It could be Ball Blast. You never know, but we're all going to be there. So, if you haven't, if you're going to be in the area, if you're looking for a weekend trip, want to come, make a Hall of Fame weekend out of it, go see the Hall of Fame Saturday, come to the Expo Sunday, head back home, whatever, be sure to come out there and see us. I believe, I don't know the website offhand, but it's online.
Expo, isn't it ffexpo.com?
I think it's ffexpo.com. You can get tickets there, so be sure to come check us out. Dan and I will be hanging out. We'll have a booth there. We'll have some more fun things to do this year than we did last year. I'm going to prep for it a little bit more cash flow now that I'm not buying a house 2 years ago. A little bit more cash flow than 2 years ago. So we'll have some cool shit going on there. It'll be a fun time. We'll be hanging out on Saturday with a bunch of folk, probably just tearing it up, being slums, and Expo on Sunday. So, yeah. Good shit.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I
Things.
never actually pulled up the show script. There we are.
we are always prepared.
Never
we are
organized.
Always ready to go. We are never organized.
And there's nothing organized about this show. It's just going to be a grab bag of items, but the one thing that's always the same, we're drinking.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Dan, what are you drinking?
I am drinking. So, for those of you who may not know, which is probably a lot of you, I went back to Minnesota this past weekend. We had my grandpa's celebration of life. So I made an impromptu trip back there. And Minnesota has figured their craft beer shit out. They had fucking Hot Butcher and More Brewing, which is astonishing for a state that doesn't get a whole lot of craft brewers out of their own. But we don't have those on today because when you go back to your home state, you want to bring back your home product. So today I have Montgomery Brewing, which is out of Montgomery, Minnesota. It's Fruit Monster. Fruit as in PHRUIT Monster. This is a kettle sour with pink guava, raspberry, marshmallow, and lactose. This is a true on true fruited sour. It clocks in at 8%, which is probably true, unless you're going the 450 route, then it's totally a lie. But as a fruited kettle sour, it's not as slurmy or like heavily fruited smoothie style. So it's where I've had this before, I had it over the weekend, but I want to have it on for you guys this, for the show today. So pumped.
So totally not planned. We are 100% in the same ballpark, actually. I was recently down in Kentucky doing a barrel pick. So not local to Kentucky, but regional. This beer's out of Cincinnati, Ohio. It's from Urban Artifact, and it's called Squeeze Box. It's a strawberry Midwest fruit tart with strawberries and vanilla. This is actually 3,000 pounds of strawberries and 60 grams of vanilla beans per 30 barrel batch. So a ton of strawberries in this stuff. Checks in at 8.6%. And they actually list the pH on here too. But checks in at 8.6%. It's a tart, so not quite sour, but it's apparently fruited sour and or tart beers all around with a shit ton of adjuncts. So that's what we're doing today.
That is the big style today.
It's going to be 100 degrees out tomorrow, so fruited's about the only way to go because you ain't drinking anything heavy.
I get to work at golf course and hand beer to golfers. So
tomorrow's a god-awful day for a golf tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing, obviously, but I get to sit in a chair underneath the tent with no AC, but I get to hand out beer.
At least you get a tent. You should get one of those fans, those battery-powered fans that, like, mist you.
I should.
They're $9 at Walgreens or Home Depot.
That would be fun. I probably should do that. Shout out to Darren. Darren is he's also going to the expo, and he has he's playing in the same division as I am for the Scott Fish Bowl.
It must be nice to be in Scott Fish Bowl. At least Nick didn't get in this year either. I don't think so.
I think there's still some
time.
invites left. I'm sure.
That's all right. I've accepted that I'm getting shafted for the second year in a row after 2 straight in there.
But let's say first off, how cool it is that we have 2 fans of the show playing at least with one of us.
No, it is. That is really awesome. Like
in the same division.
I'm totally happy about that. Don't get me wrong. That is really, really freaking cool. And I will never be bitter about making that league because of what that league goes to do. But if there's one thing I'm good at, it's pretending to be bitter. So,
did you hear what Matthew Berry is now doing for the Scott Fish Bowl?
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. Which has also stirred up some controversy. There was one guy that got, pissed off that you have to pay $1,000. You have to donate $1,000 to charity, to the Jimmy V Foundation, to have a chance to play in the division with Matt Berry, or not. You have to earn a spot, then donate. And he got mad because I guess he was pissed that Matthew Berry was promoting, was trying to coerce people into donating money, which is.
That's what charity is about.
That's what charity is for.
When
if you can't afford it, it's okay. Then don't.
When you're a celebrity, that's what you use your stature for, is to coerce people into donating money into charity.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, that's literally what you do when you have stature to do stuff that's good. I mean, J.J. Watt didn't go out and donate millions of dollars. He raised it because he's a celebrity with stature and he has a following. I mean, that's just what you do.
Yeah, it's. I
get
it. If you want to play what's cool about Scott Fish Bowl, on top of all of the money that it raises for the various
Toys for Tots.
Yeah, Toys for Tots, plus all on top of the large amount of charities that people donate to just because they want to. In support for Scott Fish Bowl, it allows people to play with their idols within the actual fantasy football community. So don't be mad just because you can't play with Matthew Berry. He's doing this as a way to help promote more, and it's giving back and whatnot.
It's still an honor to get invited too. I mean, they have thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of invites, and it's a small fraction of percentage of people that make it into the league. Period. So, anyway, cry about it, I guess.
Right.
Speaking of crying, we're just going to go through these in whatever way I can segue into them. Speaking of crying, do you see Cole Beasley's Twitter rant?
No. What did he do this time?
So, he's pissed off because the NFLPA announced their vaccinated versus non-vaccinated COVID protocols.
I saw that.
Beasley's, I guess, pissed off because I guess now a vaccinated person can go out and maybe get it and then endanger him as a non-vaccinated person, and then it's dumb that he has to follow those rules because he's not vaccinated. And here, let me just pull this up because it's going to be better for me to read than paraphrase.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. Okay, I'm seeing everything else. The Players Association is a joke. Call it something different. It's not for the players. Everyone gives me the 98% of the people who are vaccinated don't get COVID again. The odds of me getting into the NFL and playing for 10 years are lower than that.
Because that's the same thing, right?
Yeah, right.
So what are we really talking about? I understand completely why the NFL is doing this. It gives them back the freedom to make the most money as possible, again, if everyone is vaccinated. But will anyone fight for the players or not? So here's the thing, right? You can't have it both fucking ways if you're a player. The players are bitching about not wanting to do OTAs and wanting to do them remotely because of COVID and the threat of COVID. And you remember that whole goddamn thing from 2 months ago when vaccines weren't widely rolled out, widely available. A lot of people didn't have them. You know, it's still going to be dangerous to go to training camp. It's still going to be dangerous to go to OTAs. We're going to do them remote. We're going to hold out. All these swaths of people are going to hold out. And now you're saying that nobody's looking out for the players because you're allowed to show up. What? Because you're allowed to... I don't understand. Like, nobody's looking out for the players. We're mad we have to show up, and now it's a problem that I have to get vaccinated? I guess I just don't understand that. Like, it's a circular argument.
It's like they're so pissed off because it's like, well, it hasn't gone through like large amount of testing and all this stuff. Like, we're not on COVID-1, guys. This isn't COVID-1. This isn't the first strain of this virus. Like, this is COVID. Like, this is COVID-19. Like, they've done stuff for this for years. Like, they had to like push this through trials and through testing because we got to get vaccines out so we can get back to fucking normal. It's like, we're no doctors, obviously, so we're not going to speak on this in terms of that side. But
what I will say is this, though. You're employed. You're employed by an organization, and just like my fucking employer, same thing, right? You're vaccinated. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to socially distance. You're good. All bets are off. You're not vaccinated or you haven't reported your vaccination status. You do, and there's accountability if you break that. Which is, I mean, it's not like you're going to get fired, most likely, but you're going to have at least your building access shut off and everything so that you can't go in and endanger others. It's not an ethical choice. You are still an employee, an overpaid baby back bitch of an employee, but you're still an employee who has to live and play by the merits of your employer. So, yeah, you have the freedom of choice. Nobody's saying you have to do this. But like everything else you have the freedom of choice for, your choices lead to different consequences or different privileges or whatever the case may be. So, little Cole can play the fucking victim because they're telling him he's got to get vaccinated or, well, I have to socially distance and wear a mask and contact tracing and continuously be tested and blah, blah, blah. Is that big a fucking concern? Get the vaccine. Or shut the fuck up, because it's ultimately your choice. It's laid out to you. Make your choice. Don't go cry that, oh, it's not fair. Go release another bad fucking rap song.
It's bad. No, I don't like how the NFL is trying so hard, like the countless like interview questions asking these players if they're vaccinated. Like they're trying to like drum up controversy.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like it's like I'm glad when like Justin Herbert comes out and like, you know, says that he's vaccinated, said that like he does it because he should, or like, you know, Bruce Arians, you know, comes out like in support of getting the vaccine because he wants to get things back to normal. Like, it's not like this is like some out of like the blue shit. Like we're all gonna fucking die or get some shit out of it. But it's just insane how
and
so many people are so against this.
And I'll play the other side of it too. If you're against it, just say you're against it. Don't go on, but you don't got to go on Twitter playing the fucking victim. Anthony Rizzo did this earlier this week and went out and basically said, "Yo, you know, I'm a cancer survivor. I get it. I'm high risk, but at the same time, I want to see more data on this vaccine. I'm not opposed to it long term, but I want to see more data on this and its effect in cancer survivors. And 6 months is just 6 months of it being out is just not enough to make me comfortable with that yet. And until then, I'll abide by whatever protocols are in place. I'll continue to listen to doctors and what I have to do. It wasn't nobody's playing the victim, not playing the victim, not playing life isn't fair, saying, yeah, I have that decision. I'm making the decision. This is why I'm making the decision. Now, he doesn't owe us, the fans, an explanation to why he's making that decision, but he gave it, and then go on about it. It's the understanding of being a goddamn adult that is, I have a decision to make, and I made this decision, and I understand that by making that decision, this is now what I have to live by, and I'm okay with that because it's ultimately my decision, and I made that choice. Not playing the goddamn victim like fucking Cole Beasley is.
Exactly.
Sad, because Cole Beasley's the you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and Cole Beasley is living long enough to see himself become the villain from the underdog.
Well, thankfully, he's getting a world amount of shit thrown at him for this Twitter tirade that he decided to go on.
He is.
Like, no one's on his side. It's pretty funny.
Yep. I saw one guy. I think his name was Robert or something. And he definitely, looked like the type of person that would be against that. Anyway. So I wanted to give you a chance here, Dan.
Sure.
I'm going to read a piece of news, and
Okay.
I want to give you a chance to recycle one of your worst takes over the last couple of years.
My worst takes.
One of them.
One of them. Oh, boy.
In hindsight, worst takes, I guess. It was justified at the time, in your mind.
In my mind.
Cortland Sutton won't start training camp on the pup as he recovers from a torn ACL.
I mean, he didn't tear it. He tore it, week 1?
I nothing about
Week
route
2?
running, changing direction, being concerned about recovery time when he's not starting on the pup.
I mean, maybe he'll
all
start
off
off
season.
Maybe he'll start off hot and then get trailed away towards the end of the season.
That's the opposite take.
I mean that's what happened to Cup too, right? Like, Cup got supplanted when the Rams went more into 12 personnel and decided to run out Josh Reynolds over Cup.
I don't think that was. I think that was the year after. Hold on.
That was that year.
I'm pulling.
Cup was dominant for the first 6 weeks. I think he still finished as a top 10 receiver, but it went from 80% snap shares, and that was when Gurley went through his injury problems too.
He was. He was relatively consistent.
He was touchdown dependent, I think, towards the end of the year.
He only had 3 touchdowns all season.
That was last year. I'm talking about when he actually came back from his ACL injury.
No, I'm looking. Oh wait, I am looking at the wrong one.
You're looking at the wrong year then.
Yeah, I was.
I think he had 14 touchdowns that year.
He had 10. And it wasn't at the end of it. He was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 touchdown in each of his last 5 games. But it wasn't.
That's nuts, actually.
But it also wasn't totally touchdown dependent, especially in PPR, which is where you like Cooper Kupp. I mean, he was 7 of 10 for 99 in week 17, week 13, 6 of 6 for 65, 6 of 6 for 41. I mean, your PPR 10 plus points in most of those. He had 1 goose egg in the middle of the season. He did start off very hot. You're right there. He had and really that was kind of the counterpoint to argument with Kupp, though, because your argument was he'll start slow and pick up and drop off towards the end of the season, and it went totally bass backwards on you, which is why I like the razzing, because he came out and had, he was over 100 yards in 4 of his first 5 games. He had 4 touchdowns in his first 5 games, and then he had a 220-yard game in week 8 before it started to slow down a little bit. So,
yeah, it was the exact opposite of what most people thought of that year.
His catch rate from week 10 on that year, he only didn't catch 7 targets. He was 100% catch rate in 5 of the last 7 weeks.
He just wasn't getting targeted. He wasn't getting snaps. You look at 13, 73, 34. 92 is obviously great to see. 58-64. It was this odd.
It was weird.
It was this odd year. Like,
in all seriousness, Cortland Sutton's a value. He's
always a value.
He's always a value.
And just wait until Teddy Bridgewater goes out there. You're going to actually put an accurate football on his hands. Like, he's going to be shocked he doesn't have to make these crazy jump ball catches with Drew Lock out there.
Yeah, but then if Teddy Bridgewater's throwing the football, he's only running 5 yards deep.
That's true. There's a video of Drew Lock out there shooting free throws or something. He's got like this pretty form, so people are all like hyped about him. Maybe we should just quit football and start, become a jump shooter.
Is there anything to not be hyped about with Drew Lock? Ever?
I mean, you are like the lone fan club. Like you're the lone member of the Drew Lock fan club.
I'm not the only one. There's at least one more out there. All right, let's shift gears here for a second. I want to talk beer for a second. So you got something big coming up Saturday.
I do.
So
sorry, you can go.
I was just going to say, so you got a tap takeover coming up. So why don't you let the people that don't know what a tap takeover is in the beer world, why it's good, how it works, what's cool about it, et cetera, et cetera.
So, a tap takeover is kind of what it sounds like. It's when a bar or restaurant or whatever decides to have a handful of taps or kegs on from a certain brewery. So there's a restaurant down where Hopper lives by that is putting on a handful of distilled kegs who I work for. And this is a great way to help drum up business around the area because you promote it. Like this is Distill is going to put on 3 or 4 kegs here. We're going to help, promote, more craft brewery out here and allow us to get people back and to kind of be themselves. But it's great for the brewery because you are now putting on, 3, 4, 5 different, kegs on to help promote your beer, which is going to help grow awareness around the area that's doing the tap takeover. Top of that, people like me, who is the sales rep in that area, will be handing out free merch, free swag. I don't say merch, but free swag. And it's a good way to kind of drum up easy promotion for the brewery and also drive in higher business for the restaurants.
And people like me that live a half mile away get to just go in there and slum it up and get some free swag and drink beer.
Yeah, you're basically telling your customers there, we're gonna put on some good beers because generally during these tap takeovers you don't put on the basics. You're not putting on one of their year-round beers. This is when the good stuff generally comes out.
Yep. So we're getting some good beers. You need to come in here for this. It gets hyped up. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yep. You get free glassware. You can get some free coasters, some free stickers. Some places will actually give out free shirts, hats, and it's also a good way because you'll generally do these during another promotional during like a trivia night or some sort of bigger promotion to drive in more business to get more people in.
Are they doing something else on Saturday too?
They're not, but
okay. It's going to be.
I try to.
Just wanted to know what I should be prepared for.
It's going to be you just show up. You can buy 3 or 4. I think there's 5 different kegs. I think. So
I'm going to show up and drink some beer and eat some food and hang out and get a sticker from my geezer is what's going to happen.
Pretty much, and maybe some coasters.
Yeah, I'll get some shit. I know a guy.
Yes,
I know a guy.
I know this guy.
All right, more NFL because it's training camp and there's not a lot of news, but there's weirdly some news. First off, the era of the Diva wide receiver, is it, unless you're Cole Beasley, is it dead? Allen Robinson, Devontae Adams not planning to hold out for contracts. They're both going to report and play and be happy about making a boatload of money.
I mean, as they should. Adams is coming into the later part of his prime. Just try to get as much money as you can. Robinson is now being paired with the second best quarterback from his class. And hopefully the Bears don't fuck it up because they have a great young duo between Fields and Robinson.
Yeah, no, he is being paired with the third best quarterback in this class, and it should be an upgrade.
Second best quarterback.
Third, and it should be an upgrade for Allen Robinson, and hopefully help him be as good as people think he is. But at the same time, you're happy to see it. He's playing for his next contract, playing for some stability. It says that there's not necessarily a ton of bad blood there. Things that don't necessarily make sense. Zach Taylor, Joe Mixon is going to split third downs. Doesn't need to be on the field for 75% of snaps.
I mean, I disagree because there's nobody there.
So Majay Pirine
worth supplanting Joe Mixon. But what's great about in today's NFL, Mixon can command the bulk load of the targets in the backfield, then it doesn't matter.
Even if it's 65 to 70% of the snaps, not 75, you're still in great shape with Joe Mixon. So,
Delvin Cook has made his hay. Alvin Kamara have made their hay on this low to mid, low to mid opportunity share, to where they're getting all the targets in the backfield, which is what is the main. You want running backs to get targets in fantasy football. It's not that hard.
Yep, and if Samaje Perine's coming in to spell Joe Mixon on occasion, then it just means Mixon might be healthier.
Which is good for
everybody.
All the truthers out there.
Good for everybody. All right. On to the Jets. So, again, it's OTAs, and we're going to make fun of this in a little bit on everything that comes out of OTAs. But there is something to know, really, I feel like there's real implications on this for two players based on what we're seeing at a Jets camp. So, Corey Davis went to the sideline for the Jets. No word on an injury or anything, just might have been done for the day. And the receiver set they went with did not include Denzel Mims. Actually, Denzel Mims has taken no first-team reps this offseason, and he's a guy that a lot of people was immediately going to slide in outside opposite Corey Davis with Elijah Moore in the slot. But when Davis went off the field, it was actually Braxton Berrios coming on in the slot and Elijah Moore moving outside. So is this an indictment on Mims? Or are they just trying to see how they can deploy Moore and see what he can do on the outside against, I don't know that the Jets have an NFL defense, but you get it. And, it's obviously good for Elijah Moore.
I mean, that's the big takeaway. It's that Moore is basically commanding all first-team reps. Jamison Crowder, who is going to take a little bit of less money to stay with the team, so he will be there for 2021.
They asked him to take a 50% pay cut. That ain't a little bit.
Which he is taking.
Yeah.
It sounds like he will reconstruct his contract. I'm not seeing much into it, at all. We're in the heart of just OTAs where they may be trying out different formations to see what they have. If this lasts through training camp and preseason, sure, we'll be on to something then. But Mims is bigger than most of the receivers in, on this team. I can't fathom seeing Mims and Davis on the outside on 3 receiver sets. Maybe Mims won't be there on 2 receiver sets. Maybe it will be Davis and Moore, which is what it should be. But we'll see how the Jets handle this. It's not like they're the smartest, team in the league here, making all the best decisions. So
no, and the other one there's Keelan Cole. Mims is a bigger, more athletic receiver than Keelan Cole. So I mean, we'll get
the most athletic guy on that team outside of not team, but most athletic receiver within that,
right
within that depth chart.
He is. So, and we'll get to veterans having to, or rookies or second-year players having to quote-unquote fight for roster spots with veterans here in a minute, and why a lot of times in training camp that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So I learned some things last night, and this is kind of fantasy or football related too, because we did my homebrew club did a round robin draft of ingredients to use in beers, and then last night was the tasting of said beers, where you had to draft a specialty malt, an adjunct, and a hop to put in a beer, and then everything was tasted, rated, graded, and you got some weird combinations here. There are 15 different beers, and let's just say I learned some stuff. So The first thing I learned, spearmint should not go in anything that isn't a damn stout. Or any form of mint should not go in anything that isn't a stout to combat that mint. Because it just tastes like you're drinking beer after chewing a piece of gum, and it is not good.
Oof.
Like, not good at all. Sweet potatoes. Sweet potato ales and pumpkin ales are more about the spices that are added to them than about the actual adjunct you're added to them, because if you just add sweet potato, it tastes like you licked the ground. So, learn that one. Again, things I didn't know that I necessarily needed to know. Avocado makes for a really weirdly fruity bubblegum note.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how that worked out, but it worked out that way. Somehow, some way, it worked out that way. Black licorice is not a desirable flavor in anything, ever.
Nope.
Nowhere in the history of ever has black licorice been something you want. If you, and this might have been me and my brewing partner doing this one. If you ask a brewer to garnish your beer with Lucky Charms marshmallows, they might tell you, "This is the low light of my career." Because that's what happened. We had a beer that we had to use Lucky Charms marshmallows in. That was one of our special ingredients. The problem with Lucky Charms marshmallows is they're sugar. Sugar ferments. Regardless of how or when you use it, it ferments.
Yep.
You don't get marshmallow flavor by using real marshmallows.
It's a malt, right? Or no? Is it a yeast?
There's a malt that does it, and then mostly it's just vanilla and people faking it.
That's fair.
Because all marshmallows is vanilla and sugar. Or it's after fermentation has stopped.
Okay.
And your yeast are in the bottom of the trub. You've moved it off, and then a little bit of it might ferment out, but not a ton. So that's a thing. And I feel like there are more things here, but those to me were the big takeaways. Also, ranch doesn't go in beer, but we learned that a couple weeks ago.
Oh. We learned that ranch does not actually belong in everything that you want it to belong in. So don't put ranch on ice cream or beer.
Some things that do go well in things, flaked maize, normally not a bad thing. Corn notes in beer is actually pretty good most of the time. Actually had one that tasted like straight corn on the cob, which was interesting, but not in a bad way because it was like super light. Peppers and smoked malt, good. Smoked malt in the light beer, be careful with it, but it was actually pulled off well. But chipotle peppers and smoked malt go well together. Again, a little weird in the light beer, but just some things to consider if you're ever beer shopping or putting stuff together. So there you go. That's my diatribe on things I learned last night while tasting beers that were fantasy drafted to be brewed. And there's also a scenario where I think people just make shit up, like Black Imperial Saison. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it was good.
I love how they say
Black Imperial Farmhouse
Imperial.
Saison.
I love when they say Imperial,
higher ABV than you were expecting. I mean, that's
you just basically just make the beer more loud.
Yeah.
In a sense,
just higher ABV than the style would normally call for, so you got to call it Imperial, apparently.
Right, exactly.
Okay, let's flip it up. You want to talk some training camp cliches because these are hilarious to me.
Let's do it.
All right. So, some cliches for you. Dak Prescott says Zeke Elliott is in the best shape of his life.
Yay! I do like Zeke this year, though. I do.
Yeah, well, if anything, only because he's going to be of value by his standards because of how shit the run game was last year in Dallas.
Yeah, at least that division will be better. And should hopefully see a little more shootouts or high-scoring games in there.
Yeah, but best shape of his life news, by the way, or looks faster than ever, or stronger than ever, or lighter, or put on muscle, and this, that, and the other, never holds any weight when evaluating a player. Ever.
Never.
Texans need to, quote, do a better job establishing the run per the offensive coordinator, which is an obvious statement because they were 32nd in the run last year.
I can't wait to see more David Johnson, Mark Ingram, and Philip Lindsay.
You can't
what
really
could be
go
the worst team in football.
You can't really go anywhere but up. Yeah, that was kind of the point that was made when I saw that tweet. Is, I mean, gonna be hard to establish the run when you're playing from behind in the second quarter of every game.
Just you have fun where Watson or Davis Mills is throwing 50 times in the second half. Oh, God.
By the way, weirdly quiet on the Watson front.
I know, right? It's been, like 2.5 months
since we heard anything about that.
Interesting.
The last thing we heard was Rusty Harden, his attorney, calling the other dude basically a liar in the news and basically standing behind, I know all this shit's fabricated, and it's gone silent.
It's gone silent since.
It has indeed. Another cliche you'll see a lot during training camp season and through the offseason. Rookie quarterbacks not being handed started jobs. A couple examples of this. Brian Schottenheimer has not decided if Trevor Lawrence is going to be the Jaguars' quarterback one. Mac Jones got no first-team reps in one day of practice and then had the most first-team reps in the next day of practice. Looks like the best quarterback in camp. Justin Fields, Matt Nagy. No way Justin Fields is our starter. There's zero chance that he opens as quarterback one. Trey Lance will have every chance to rise up the depth chart.
I love it. It's like they're trying so hard to create smoke. And every one of us is like, just, what are you trying to get advantage of? Like, everyone knows.
It's just the illusion of you get handed nothing in this league. So you have to come in and compete with this veteran that we have and earn your spot and prove that you're better than this veteran that we have. Even though everyone knows Justin Fields is better than Andy Dalton and Mac Jones is better than Cam Newton at this stage in their careers.
And Trey Lance may offer more actual upside
than Jimmy Garoppolo. And Trevor Lawrence has a ton more upside than Gardner Minshew. Of course, Lawrence is hurt again, so there's that.
Sad. I can't wait for this class to disappoint the same way that 2018 did. And then we're all like, what happened?
Another thing that you should be wary of. Swift and Goff are building a nice rapport in practice. Player X is really comfortable with player Y.
Yeah, because we don't need to know that DeAndre Swift is going to command literally every single target.
They look real comfortable on fucking screenplays.
Which is all they're going to run because they have no receivers on that team.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
It's a great number 2.
Behind the nobody at number 1. TJ Hawkinson.
I can't wait for Hawkinson and Swift to lead this team. I do like St. Brown. We all know what his limitations are from an athletic standpoint, but someone's got to catch passes. Someone's got to be the new Terry McLaurin, where there's no actual depth chart behind.
Yeah, except don't expect the yak and the deep balls to St. Brown that you get out of McLaurin. Just it's gonna be
at least
volume.
the Lions have a decent offensive line to give Goff a chance to throw it deep.
Yep, and no defense, so I'll have plenty of chances to throw it deep.
Exactly.
Another thing you should be numb to. Giants quarterback pleads guilty to gun charges. COVID's over. You're going to start. I didn't even put the guy's name in here because I don't remember it. It wasn't anybody significant. But COVID's over. NFL player's going to start acting a fool.
Love it. Just I can't wait for third player on the depth chart does something stupid and we're supposed to care about it.
And if you listen to this show, one thing that we were going to shamelessly do, Roberto Aguayo has been released.
A former second-round pick, traded up for a second-round pick, Roberto Aguayo. It's been released from the Patriots.
And what that references is that anytime there's an obscure player that we have had fun with in our past, liked in our past, didn't like in our past, etc., that's cut from the back end of a depth chart, we're going to talk about it.
Just wait till you get all your Kalen Ballage news.
Somehow Brad Kaya shows up.
Oh, my God. That play action, though.
Yeah, I mean, This is where you're going to get all of it.
God, I was so bad. I mean, I'm still not good, but Jesus Christ.
We'll keep the cliches coming every week because that's kind of a fun one to do to make fun of stuff. But
hell yeah.
Yeah, in all seriousness, the only thing to take away there is that things are going well for Swift and golf.
Yeah, and you should not be concerned about Jamal Williams taking away significant snaps.
Yeah,
Swift will be just fine. He may not be a high in RB1 this year, but the Lions don't need to wear and tear Swift this year when they're just trying to survive the 21 season.
They do not. So, Bears news broke today.
I saw that.
They're looking at buying the old race course in Arlington Heights, and later on, Mayor Lori Lightfoot of Chicago released a statement about, they're proud of their sports teams, and the Bears are just using this as a negotiation tactic because they're talking about renovations to Soldier Field, and we're going to do whatever we can to keep Chicago in the name, which, first off, they moved to Arlington Heights. It's still fucking Chicago. They're not changing their name.
Yeah.
But, which brings up the argument again of sports and taxpayer revenue and politics and that crossing boundaries. And, for a private league, should taxpayers really be on the hook ever for stadiums and stadium upgrades? I guess the Bears have a lease at Soldier Field until 2033, which I guess in a lot of those situations they kind of are on the hook because like the municipality or the city or whatever actually owns the stadium, and then the NFL teams just lease it, and tax revenue and this and that and the other. But that's really a complicated scenario. You look at what went on with the Raiders in Oakland. You look at, it's been really bad with the MLB in Oakland, the MLB in Tampa Bay, to try to get stadium deals done because the leagues want these facilities to be places that fans want to go.
Yep.
The teams want these facilities to be good for the players and to be state-of-the-art. The city wants these teams in their facilities because they make millions of dollars off of that lease. And they don't want them to relocate because of tax revenue, but the taxpayers don't want to put up the money to have a stadium built, and neither do most of the people that represent those taxpayers. So how do you feel about that? Where's the balance? You're an Illinois taxpayer. I'm an Illinois taxpayer.
Just let them play. I just say just let them play where they want to.
Who's responsible for the stadium?
Unfortunately, it's going to be the taxpayers. It should be. I mean, you would hope it'd be the actual organization because they make so much more money off of it. And then actually, it's tough. Like it's. I know there's generally it's generally the state will help pay, the teams itself will pay, and then you'll get the rest of it being paid from the people who live in the actual state through all the state taxes that come through. So I don't know who should pay it. It should be the teams, right? Like they're deciding on where they want to play, but I would think the state would want to have more involved because it can help drive up so much business.
I mean, they're going to get tax revenue regardless, though. I mean, the only thing that's really in it for them is the lease, right? Because, I mean, even if the team is selling tickets, beer, food, merch, whatever, I mean, you're still collecting sales tax. You're still collecting all of your taxes off of hotel stays, all of your taxes off of, leisure. You'd be collecting property tax from them at that point because you don't own the property now. I mean, I think that ultimately it's an entertainment business is what sports is, and that, taxpayer dollars should be out of it for the most part. And, you're going to get tax revenue out of it regardless if you're the municipality, but, the team should be on the hook for the stadium.
Yeah.
And the land and every other part of it, and because the business, right? I mean, the county isn't on the hook for the dairy freeze around the corner from me. It's no different.
Exactly.
All right. I want to look at some ADP. is one of the last things we do on this show.
I got it pulled up too. I pulled up ADP Calc.
Okay, I'm on Fantasy Pros, so we'll see how close these are.
Sure.
I'm gonna look at quarterback first, I guess, and just see the order people are going. See what's surprising here. Aaron Rodgers going 8th off the board. Is that surprising? Is that where you'd expect him? Is this just? I mean, is this a?
I don't think
overreaction.
I mean, I see on Fantasy Calc he's only been drafted in. Like, he's one of the least drafted quarterbacks amongst the top. I think there is some concern. And I think you'll see his ADP fluctuate the same way you'll see Deshaun Watson. Watson will be a little bit more extreme.
Yeah.
With Rodgers, I think people just expect Rodgers is going to play.
Yeah.
It's either he's going to retire and be the next host of Jeopardy, or he'll play, and then we'll see what happens in 2022.
Yep. So in front of him, by the way, what's going in front of him is Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Prescott. Prescott going 4. So, I mean, guy you'd normally expect to be a value, definitely not going to be a value this year.
There's a lot of what's shocking
Jackson,
is
Wilson, Herbert.
In single QB leagues, there's 6 quarterbacks going in the first 5 rounds. Mahomes going
Which
second,
is insane.
not shocking. Josh Allen and Murray going in the 4th. This is per Fantasy Calc. A full point single QB, but Jackson, Herbert, and Dak all going in the 5th round. There's a lot of quarterbacks going that early, which means you're going to see push value from other positions, and you're seeing guys like Jalen Hurts in the 7th round. It's a great value. Ryan Tannehill in the 9th round might be one of the best value picks for a guy who's got a Konami code upside. And just added a fucking Julio Jones to his offense.
Another guy that jumps out to me is somebody that could potentially be a single quarterback value right now is Carson Wentz.
I mean, Wentz is a streamer, he does still offer some rushing upside, especially now he's a couple years removed from his injuries.
It's like Cousins plus, but he's got a better offensive line. He's going to have a better team around him, and this is a guy that's been a top 10 quarterback when he's been put in a position to succeed. So, I mean, the fact that he's the 22nd quarterback off the board is pretty freaking insane.
I'm looking at Jalen Hurts as the 10th QB.
What I'm saying.
That insane. Like, he's got the QB1 upside. Like, people have to understand Hurts has the QB1. He could have a Lamar Jackson 2019 type of upside to him, especially in that offense and then playing within that division. You got Tannehill as the QB15 in the 9th round, and then a guy like Trey Lance, who is going to offer that high end, rushing the floor as that maybe second half QB that you can probably get for free because he'll probably go undrafted and then dropped.
Yeah,
at some point, in these single QB leagues, they're basically looking for high rushing floor with some sort of upside to them.
Yeah, and some other guys that have upside that could be free that you look at drafting if you're trying to stash a streamer. Jameis Winston, 29th, damn near undrafted. Zach Wilson, 31st, damn near undrafted. He's going to be the starter. Zach Wilson is the one guy there hasn't been smoke and mirrors around saying he's not going to start week 1.
Who is the backup? Who is the second quarterback? And
I'm
going to look this up.
No idea.
I'm going to look this up, but I also see, Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
He's a top 5 run. Like, he's a
top 5 rushing
quarterback. I mean, granted, he's not great, but they just, he's got a healthy Evan Ingram. They brought in Kenny Galladay. They brought in Kadarius Toney. Like, and he's getting back Saquon Barkley. Like, there's a chance for Jones to actually pay off on his insane value. Like, I won't say value, but insane. Like, he's got upside. Like, he's got, he's got a QB1 upside to him.
And Sam Darnold's another guy I'll highlight. I mean, he landed in Carolina with an offense that's going to be fast-paced. It's going to throw the football. You've got the best, and you've got people there that are going to demand that they throw the football. He's going to have Christian McCaffrey. He's going to have DJ Moore. He's going to have a Robbie Anderson there. I mean, Sam Darnold right now is the 32nd quarterback off the board, and he's in as good of a position to succeed, at least as a passer, as is anybody, he should be up in those teens and streaming ranges as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing. So the Panthers are actually a pretty slow-moving team. I mean, you have Darnold, who's not a fast, quick player. And Bridgewater is a pretty they weren't as fast-paced as
Bridgewater
we
is
expected them
very
to be.
methodical at the line, though, too. He's very heady
Yeah.
and very.
I mean,
big at
Darnold's
adjusting
got some
plays,
gunslinger
so.
to him, but yeah, it's not going to just don't expect Cardinals pace. But Darnold, again, there's going to be value in streaming, like there usually is in single QB leagues.
Mhm.
So don't reach, don't reach on any of these quarterbacks. Don't reach on Mahomes. Don't reach on Allen, Murray, Prescott. There is Hurts is probably the best value in my opinion, based on these June ADPs, and I expect these correct themselves. So at some point,
Speaking of June ADPs, I'm looking at running back, and there's some things here too.
is there some good value too?
Let me go to PPR. Are we doing PPR or half PPR?
I do full because you
I'll do
get
full.
generally a little more. You get a little
Yeah.
more drafted players in full, so you get a little
So
better to see.
right off the bat, Christian McCaffrey at the 101, given what he dealt with last year and the change at quarterback. I mean, full PPR, that still makes sense, but Cook, Kamara right on his heels. I mean, that's got to be a tier thing, right? I mean, that can't be he's that far ahead.
Between him and Barkley,
Barkley's down
Kamara-
at 5.
yeah, Barkley's one of the best values right now. There's that offense won't change. I think that offense will still funnel through him.
Mm-hmm.
Cook will be fine. Kamara, you do have to be a bit concerned with the change of quarterback. You're going from King checked out himself and Drew Brees to Winston, who likes to push the football, and Taysom Hill, who, we get these mobile quarterbacks who want to run instead of check it down. I'll be interested to see how Kamara does, because I'm all in on a guy like Austin Eckler with Justin Herbert. I expect some big things from Antonio Gibson, from Cam Akers. There is
Aaron Jones back in Green Bay.
Jones,
Zeke
again,
Elliott. I mean, Zeke's your
exactly.
7th running back off the board. There's actually some depth here at top. Joe Mixon's going 13th.
And Joe Mixon, a guy who, if he can stay healthy and with the improved offensive line, hopefully improve if they all can come back healthy as well. Mixon on that offense, being dubbed the Dallas of the AFC with no defense and a lot of offensive weapons, Mixon could be also in line to pay off very nicely at the 207, at the RB13 in these early, these early ADPs.
Yeah. Najee Harris at 16 is interesting.
He's going to get volume.
He's going to get volume. It's just that
Lot
team
of
was
volume.
so bad, and they did nothing to address the interior offensive line. That little eyebrow raising to see him ahead of, like a David Montgomery who came on big at the end of last year, a Chris Carson who's been very consistent, a Mike Davis who's going to see volume. Talk about a value at running back, by the way, with nobody else behind him. Mike Davis is 27th.
Mike Davis might actually fuck around and get 100 targets.
He could.
This year. I got Najee Harris at RB28 at the 5'11 right now.
I got him. I'm showing him as RB16.
Which is insane because I would take him. I still see James Robinson at the.
He is
I don't know how
29th
accurate
per
these are.
FF Calc, because keep in mind, Fantasy Pros pulls in composite. FF Calc has him at 29th, which is by far the lowest. He's at 10 on RT, 12 on ESPN, 16 on Fantrax.
I'm gonna pull up FF Calc. I think that seems a little more accurate to what to expect. But with Eckler, I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's become a value. He's going to see more opportunity with and he's going to be value again. Swift, he may not be an RB1, but he's going to get a lot of targets.
Damian Harris all the way down at RB35.
He'll be a great 0 RB guy.
Yeah. Same thing, I think, for A.J. Dillon, who could have some week-to-week value. A guy like Javonte Williams, who's going to have a shot in Denver.
I like Naeem Hines and Gus Edwards, who I think have standalone value, and we'll see that increase if anything were to happen to the actual starters. Travis Etienne's in the same boat.
Yep. Travis Etienne's actually got, I think, more of a path to upside, too, because it doesn't necessarily rely on something happening to James Robinson.
Yeah, and he'll get the majority of the targets.
Same thing for Michael Carter all the way down at 42, and the Jets, who really just have a wide open race right now.
Yeah. You want to take at least one shot at a Jets player. If it's not Carter, you have Ty Johnson, you have Tevin Coleman. If we expect this Jeff offense to be better this year, which they should be, whoever starts, whoever is the pass catcher in that offense, I think it's one you want to keep an eye on through this offseason.
Indeed. All right, looking at wide receivers. Actually, I don't really see anything through the first 20 that is super eyebrow raising to me.
No.
I mean, that's actually pretty okay.
I mean, for what Julio, I still have Julio as the wide receiver 13. I expect that to go down.
Yeah, and I'm assuming Julio showing up at the 15 is just because it's June, so you're not fully adjusted to the trade yet.
Yep.
Through what's going through here, so I was kind of throwing that one out. Deontay Johnson at 21 is the first one that gets a little bit eyebrow raising, just because I don't think Pittsburgh improved that much. Tyler Lockett at 23 will be a value again. DJ Moore at 24 should be a value. So, I mean, I think that's where you start to get a little eyebrow raising. Brandon Ayuk at 25 is definitely eyebrow raising.
Yeah. Juju maybe at 27.
Yeah.
I would take Claypool over Juju. I mean, I love Juju, but I think Pittsburgh's offense is just not, with reports of him playing on the outside more, and that's going to push Deontay Johnson inside into the slot. Should be will be more preferred.
Am I seeing massive Bengals disrespect? Yeah, massive disrespect for Bengals wide receivers.
Higgins and Chase, both in the 30 range. I think it's probably
and
right.
Boyd. They're all down 31 through 30.
31, 34, and 36.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that Chase is not above Higgins is a good thing, as Higgins should still be the one
the fact
this
that
year.
Boyd's the last one taken out of the 32 is a little bit.
Laviska Shenault at wide receiver 43. Value.
There is value here. Cortland Sutton at 28.
Jerry Jeudy even at 38.
Yeah.
If you expect an uptick in this Denver offense, that's value.
Like
usual,
there's Devonta Smith at 41. I mean, there is value everywhere. Yeah. Parker at 44.
Rashad Bateman at 59.
Gallup at 46.
Oh, I'm sorry, but that's Elijah Moore. I expect Moore to go up. I expect Bateman to go up.
Corey Davis at 49. I mean, there's a lot of right now, and we'll keep an eye on these throughout the summer, but there's a lot of value to be had through the first 50 receivers.
Like even Paris Campbell at 68, where there's no clear. I mean, T.Y.'s 52 and Pittman's 47. There's no number one in that Colts offense. No one. There is no clear number one there.
Elijah Moore at 61.
60,
and again,
yeah.
The Jets wide receivers are just like the running backs. Take a shot at one of them.
Yep. Yeah,
but
like the Brian Edwards at 93. He might be the latest alpha, like the latest number one receiver. I mean, it might be John Brown out there in Vegas, but John Brown's going 63.
Yeah.
Brian Edwards is going 93. That's a 30-spot difference for Brian Edwards, who profiles as a true alpha across the board. That's nuts. That needs to be fixed.
You want to know what's nuts? Patriots' best wide receiver last year, and N'Keal Harry got hurt again. Jacoby Myers, 105th.
I don't know who's going to be the best. You're taking a shot on him. You're taking a shot. I mean, I take my shot on Nelson Aguilar because they just paid him the money.
I'm taking a shot on him with Edelman. Yeah.
65.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a camp I'm watching in terms of redraft, just to see who's number 1 and 2. Who's going to be opposite of Kendrick or the opposite of Nelson Aguilar? Is it going to be Myers or is it going to be Kendrick Bourne, who they also paid more money than they should?
Geronimo Allison has an ADP.
He does.
100.
He has a lot of ADPs.
Yeah.
I mean, Riley really does.
134.
Yeah, I'm not.
KJ Hamler all the way down at 145 after. Yeah, anyway. Keelan Cole, Jets number 2, 152.
Dami Brown at 112.
Yeah, just ask them. They'll tell you.
Value. Hunter Renfrow, Mr. Blanket himself, right next to Darren Waller at the cool 100 spot. So, again, like usual, guys, a lot of value.
So, tight ends, pretty chalk for the first 4 to 5. Logan Thomas is the first one I see that I'm like, whoa, he's ahead of Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, Pitts should be. This seems way off.
This should correct.
The top 3 is right. Hawkinson and Pitts should be
ahead of
4
Andrews.
and 5.
Yeah.
Then Andrews should be at 6 with Thomas and him.
Yeah, with Thomas.
Here.
Henry, you don't know because the team changed. Goddard, if you assume Ertz is going to be gone, is up there. Yeah, I mean, tight end's not going to be deep, but it's going to be another situation where there's not a ton of separation there. But
I actually might like Tyler Higbee this year. At tight end 16, he's actually decent value.
Without Everett there anymore.
Without Everett, you get Matthew Stafford. You get a little more potent, a little more vertical offense. The great defense, a lot of scoring opportunity.
Tunyon at 17 had a huge year last year. Irv Smith with Kyle Rudolph out of town at 15.
When you look at what New England wants to do, the fact that Hunter Henry is going above John Smith.
Johnny's hurt again,
Jono
too.
should be. Oh, is he hurt? Okay.
Johnny
should be more of the vertical stretch where Henry is more of your third down.
Pull the hammer. Everett in Seattle, tight end 28.
Troutman, too, at 25.
Those are both going to be worth a shot.
There's opportunity. Chris Herndon back finally with the more stable offense.
Yep, Herndon, Tim Tebow, that hasn't taken off yet.
Dawson Knox in Buffalo with not a true goal line back Knox. I mean, all you need for tight ends is, 3-4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
Knox the best red zone threat outside of Diggs in Buffalo. There's some value there too.
I think Brandon McManus at the kicker 15-16 is a little bit of a snub. Kicking there in Denver.
A kicker news. Young Koho, kicker 3.
Young Wei Koo. You weren't even close.
Nope, I'm saying Yun Ho Ko. I don't care. Yun Ho. Yeah, a kicker news.
No Cairo Santos either. The disrespect.
Will Lutz 9. And Tyler Bass at 7. That should be higher. I mean, Jay Tuck should always be.
Dude, Jake Elliott's all the way down at 24. For some reason.
It's because we don't trust. He's not as good as he used to be. I mean, Joey Sly.
He was fantastic last year.
Yeah.
Huh.
Defenses. We don't look at these enough.
We don't. Rams up at 1.
That's fair. Washington
at 5 is kind of a deal.
A lot of sacks and turnovers for Washington with that insanely good front four.
Yeah.
It just seems about fair.
It does.
I do expect Minnesota's defense to be better. So 23 should be a value. I expect the same way for the Bears.
I think the Patriots being at 10 is a little bit high.
A little too much respect.
Same thing with the Dolphins. Oh, the Dolphins outperformed
Dallas at
them.
15.
It's definitely high.
Yeah.
Denver at 14. That could be a little bit of a steal, given what they've done.
Yeah. A lot of young pass rushers there, too. And the Chiefs, again, when you have the best offense in football, A lot of opportunity for turnovers.
Texans somehow not last. Detroit somehow not last.
I mean, the Raiders and Bengals and Jags are your bottom three. That's pretty god awful. I mean, so let's look. So you have the Lions, the Falcons, Jags, Bengals, and Raiders are behind the Texans.
You're apparently sexy.
Oh, am I sexy?
Yeah.
With my nips out.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know what this is, but thank you. I appreciate it.
We got anything else? Are we done?
I think.
Oh, we got a
that's
beer
it.
review.
Yeah. I mean, I saw some Would You Rathers. Oh, I made a dynasty trade too. By the way,
Let's
with
talk
Sean.
about your dynasty trade. Would you
let's
rather
talk
was
about
just
that.
in case we needed to fill time. I wanted to make sure we got to an hour. We're at an hour, so
Perfect. So let's talk about our beers and let's talk about this trade I made with Sean. You want to do the beer review first, or do you want to do the trade talk?
let's do the beer review first because you made a trade with Sean, and I think that I want to enjoy this beer review, and we'll just end on a bad note.
All right, I'll start then. Again, I am drinking Montgomery Brewing, which is out of Montgomery, Minnesota. This is their fruit monster, the fruit with pH. This is a kettle sour with pink guava, raspberry, marshmallow, and lactose. This clocks in at 8%. Again, as what you should expect from a kettle sour or a sour beer with lactose added, is going to be soft, somewhat balanced, somewhat tart, somewhat sweet, with the fruits taking out the most. Again, with marshmallow, you should just expect a little more vanilla. With lactose, is going to make it a little bit smoother, sweeter. You get the tartness up front that leads generally to a smoother finish, more of a sweet rush. This isn't of your heavily fruited sours that are more like smoothies. This is still a true kettle sour look with the fruits added. Overall, it's just it does what it's supposed to do. It's as advertised. It's nor mind-boggling, mind-blowing great or bad. So it's just a solid drink.
So the strawberries are definitely in this beer. As is the pH, but it tastes like a tart strawberry. The vanilla does its job as far as balancing out the tartness of those strawberries, but it's juicy. It's that very strawberry forward. Not like artificial strawberry sweetness or anything like that. Like, it doesn't taste like a Dum Dum sucker or anything. It's just very strawberry forward. Fades into a nice soft tartness, if you will. It's not overly sour. It doesn't pucker lips or anything like that. Just fades into a real nice soft tart flavor. In the vanilla, it balances out nicely. Long strawberry on the finish. There's basically one flavor to this beer, and it's strawberry. It's good. It's a good summer drinker. A little on the sweet side.
Yeah.
Right.
Not shocking.
Yeah.
All right, so Dynasty Trade, because apparently this has become a minor segment in our last two podcasts.
Yeah, it just means you got to keep making them. Maybe I should
keep
make
making
a
them
few.
somehow. I've had some offers, but I traded. This is a single quarterback, single tight end, pretty much your basic of your basic Dynasty leagues.
It's yours.
Half point PPR. I traded away George Kittle, and I got in return Hawkinson, a 22-second and a 23-second. What are your thoughts?
Single tight end, Hawkinson definitely has Kittle type upside if he ever ends in an area where he gets targeted to that level or anything like that. Second
Get
round
that this year, probably.
Second round picks, Sean figures to be relatively competitive. He's not got a deep team, but he definitely has talent. So you figure those are probably going to be more towards they're both his. So you figure that those are probably going to be more towards mid to back of the second round, probably.
Yep.
So, I think draft compensation maybe a little bit more, but like I said, Sean's team's not deep. He's an injury or two away from being back in the shitter. So, a little bit of a gamble, but definitely with single tight end, the variance isn't that much to be sad about. Definitely strikes me as a trade Sean would make because I could see him sitting there thinking that clearly favors him, even though there's definitely scenarios where it does not.
Yeah, so again, I'm back in Minnesota. Sean lives in Minnesota. Sean and I had some beers and we talked about it. We generally try to do a trade when I'm up there. And
that's how he gets you. He butters you up with beers, and then you actually trade with Satan.
I mean, yeah. So he's only wanted Kittle. Sean has got Watson and Burrow as his quarterbacks. So he's playing with fire, from that position. He's got no depth at running back. He's got a very good receiving core. And he just won the championship this past year. Obviously, Kittle is going to help. I don't think Kittle and Hawk are going to be that far apart this year.
I don't either.
It's what we expect to see from a Trey Lance-led offense with Hawk, or not with Hawk, with Kittle. A hopefully healthy Ayuk, a hopefully healthy Deebo Samuel, a non-existent running game. But you have just yak monsters across the board.
The running game will be existing. It's Kyle Shanahan. You're not going to look at it and say it's this guy, but the running game will definitely exist.
You just don't know. I mean, you'll know kind of week in, week out, but you just don't quite know until some injuries occur, which always seems to happen with that Niners backfield. So I saw it as a slight downgrade. Kittle, we just expect will lead that team in targets if all things remain the same. He'll generally lead, at least be top 3 in tight ends and yak. But with Hawk, with no wide receiver one in Detroit, then they're kind of in this in-between spot because you and I both know Goff isn't the future in Detroit.
No.
And that's where the problem lies in with Hawkinson is who's going to throw him the football within the next couple years. Goff's contract doesn't become a concern until 2022 where his out actually occurs. But they should figure it to be a bottom 5 team over the next couple seasons. So we'll see who they draft in that within those spots and just where they land. So I don't see it as a big. I tried to get it first out of Sean. He wasn't about it.
Well, of course not, because that would have made the trade actually fair on paper.
Actually, per some of the trade calcs they use, I fleeced the shit out of them.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about your trade calcs.
But I mean, getting 2 seconds, being able to be more flexible with those picks, use it to try to get better ends. I'm using those. I have 3 second-round picks in next year's draft. Trying to move up to get a running back for this year because I should compete even with Hawk instead of Kittle. So it gives me a little more flexibility. Having those seconds, there is value to them, especially if talent slips in these rookie drafts. So I'm fine with the pick. I'm glad that Sean was okay with adding that other second onto it. So that's the trade I made. We'll hopefully have another one. I have some other talks.
Slightly favors Sean, but in my opinion, but at the same time, this is one we could look back on after that 2023 draft and say that it was pretty even or you even won it. So,
I mean, I feel pretty good. I mean, I don't feel too much of a difference.
Because you're out here playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers.
Yeah, sure. Maybe.
It's fine. That's the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I have no idea what we're going to do next week. We'll figure it out 20 minutes before the show.
Like usual.
So, yeah. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Don't be Cole Beasley.
Please don't.